How would you all like to know how I make homemade biscuits? Well, this is your chance. So, got all my stuff laid out here, what I use. Just self-rising flour from Shawnee's Best. I keep that in a lock and lock container, my little mixing bowl, some vegetable shortening, and buttermilk. And just so you know, buttermilk, this is going to expire tomorrow, so we're going to get some use out of that before it does. My wife and my mother-in-law would probably argue that it is just as good, if not better, after the expiration. So hopefully you can see everything here. I'm not measuring a thing. I'm going to make approximately a pan of biscuits. This is hot. Ouch. It's hot. I was cleaning it off, it didn't let it dry. I use a flat iron skillet to bake them in. So hopefully about that size. I'm going to say it's an 11 or 12 inch pan. So in my self-rising flour, I'm going to get half a cup of shortening in there. I think a little more. I like the biscuits to be very good. And for whatever reason, my biscuits always turn out very fluffy. They're really not like any that you get out. And what I'm going to do is get a pastry cutter. It's over on the jump drawer side over here. Just like so, because I don't really like to get, I could work it with my hands, my fingers, but this gets it more evenly distributed. And I'll have you know that that flour on the counter won't matter, because that's where I'll also be cutting the biscuits on. It's clean. So, really not much more than that. Just cutting it in so that it's pretty well distributed. And since I'm using self-rising flour, it doesn't need anything else in there except buttermilk. Make sure it's good and even. And again, not going to measure, just going to kind of guess, because we can add more buttermilk or more self-rising flour if it's needed, but I'll be able to tell by the consistency here. A little bit more. And again, when I put this out on the counter to cut, it'll get a little bit more flour. That's about what I'm looking for. Still kind of wet, but not terrible. So, take that. The oven is already preheating. You probably saw to 500, and they'll go for about 10 minutes, maybe 11. Sharon thinks this is a lot of work, but I promise you, for the little bit of extra work, then popping open a can is absolutely worth it, especially if you're not the one doing the work. But I enjoy doing it, and we enjoy eating them. One of my favorite meals is breakfast for dinner. Give this a little bit of flour so that it doesn't stick so much to me. And really, I am not going to work this very much. That, I think, attributes to its fluffiness. It looks like it's not coming together, but it really is. And I could probably make them more flaky, I guess, if I did more folds and smushes, but I really don't think that's necessary. And I want them to be about ½ inch or an inch. No, half, 3/4 of an inch, we'll say. Okay, give me a second. Next step before cutting them out is to add some grease to the pan. My pan is still kind of warm, so it's melting. Don't know how I feel about that, but maybe it'll help the color on the bottom of them. Okay. I like to use a 2 1/4 inch biscuit cutter. I like the scalloped edge because it makes them just a little bit more decorative, like I'm trying to be fancy. I don't twist them around in there because it tends to keep them from rising, or so they say. I just cut and plop. And have them touching so they have something to climb up against. You can see by the size of the dough and the size of the pan, it's going to be pretty close to about the same size. So hopefully I gauge that about right. And then when I've gotten what I can get out of that first batch, you all probably know this, but you take your dough and you collect it. It's kind of sticky on that edge. And you go for more. That's a little thinner than the other, so we'll put that dude in the middle. Y'all, this is going to turn out perfectly. Now I could squeeze them up a little more and get them closer together and get a few more around that edge, but I'm going to call that a win. And this will just be something I could save if I wanted to, but it'll go in the trash. There's not much to it. Anyway, it's hopefully not too hot. That's my pan of biscuits. And they're going to go in the oven for 500 degrees for about 10 or 11 minutes. Whew, that's hot. Okay, it's been 10 minutes.
Your biscuit timer is done.
Took a peek a little while ago. They are perfectly done. I don't like them too dark. And they almost fill up that whole pan. So how about that? Dinner tonight is kind of on your own in our household. Sharon's got some meetings with her education association colleagues and the school board of education, and I don't have anything to do outside the house tonight, so I thought I would go ahead and make these biscuits, and then we'll have them for a couple of days. I like to store them without any wrapper around them so they don't get all, I don't know, the texture just changes and we don't like it. Or I don't like it, so therefore we don't like it. And anyway, I had the idea to share this with you tonight on camera because I never do this, but I was in a brief conversation with my friend Lee Brown in North Carolina on the Instagram, I think it was, and we were kind of just reminiscing about the COVID days when she was doing a pretty regular series online on the socials called My Kitchen, My Rules. And that was kind of a fun time when we were just taking a little bit of breather before things got really out of hand and just madness during the lockdowns. So anyway, that's why I thought I would bake some biscuits and share it with you.